All right, welcome sports fans. This week's edition of the William Hill Sports Show coming to you live from the Club County event room. Down one less person, though. Didn't have the show last week. As a lot of you may or may have not heard, we lost a guy last week, John Stevens. Josh.
Yeah,
Can you take it from here for a second?
absolutely. So Ken, as Ken mentioned, John Stevens passed about a week ago, and for anyone who's been, a follower of our show knows for the longest time. I mean, he's been a staple of it. All of us here have been for the most part. I mean, I've been doing this show for going on 15 years. He's been here for every minute of it, as has Ken, and we all bonded over it. And it's a really shocking thing, and it's really difficult to comprehend. And even now, hard to come with to grips with it, as can I usually show up half an hour or so before, do some studying, this and that. I always expect him to walk in, say what's up, and talk about whatever games we saw last week, whatever boxing match we were excited about. But I'll just start this off because I know everyone here probably has their own memories to share or whatnot. But I'll just throw out one thing that stands out specifically. Is sometime last year, I believe it was last year, I remember he actually lost his father. And we were doing the show together, and Ken, you weren't here because I remember I was filling in for you, and the other guys I think had not shown up yet. I was not aware of this loss. I was unprepared for going on the show live. As we're doing the standard introductions, having him announce that his father had passed and sort of giving a tribute to him and talking about all the sports memories they had and whatnot. Being unprepared, I'm nonetheless fully aware of what it's like to suffer a significant loss in life, and so despite my lack of preparation, on the fly, I tried to show a level of compassion and also applaud the sentiment that he shared toward his father and all the memories and things of that nature. And during so it was an emotional thing. Again, it was caught me off guard. But then we go to the first break, and he thanked me for the support and that I was able to kind of just step in and empathize with the loss. And from that point on, we had various conversations about mortality. People don't realize that even though he and I weren't as close as friends as you guys all were away from the show, that we were in very similar stages of life, Ken. I mean, he and I were born about a month apart. We grew up watching the same teams, would listen to the same music, and we would have these conversations about, the longer you live, the more people you lose, and how you just sort of learn to endure, and you learn at some point in life that grief just sort of becomes a constant companion, and how you deal with it is basically it never goes away. There's no cure. I don't necessarily believe all the time in the healing things, that you just learn to live alongside grief, and sometimes it's greater than others. Sometimes it hits you hard. It comes and goes in waves. But we ended up, I think, bonding even more so based on that conversation, and we talk about things in that regard. And occasionally you heard about someone you went to high school past, and just, with a mutual understanding of just how fragile this life is. And when it comes right down to it, what a short time we all truly have here. And the bottom line is, I know you guys all feel the same. The show will never be the same without him, for sure. I know we got used to seeing each other and, whatever, having debates back and forth. And anyone who listens knows that, he was, like I said, he was an absolute staple of whatever, programming and entertainment, we provide here. That's the thing that I'm going to, remember the most, though, is that time we seemed to bond, stronger over, that from that one show, and just remember, the main thing I remember about him is sometimes, you hear some of these, cliches or whatnot that get spouted about how you should deal with loss or how you should remember people. And sometimes they say, it's not necessarily how you pass, but how you live. And one thing I always admired about him was, I mean, it seemed like I wouldn't say he never had a bad day, but it seemed like he was always on. He seemed like he was always, say the life of the party or the life of any room he stepped into.
Yes, he was.
And like I said, even though we were the exact same age, I never understood the amount of energy he had. Like, you guys texting me from the Wolfpack game, like, guys, I'm in bed. Thanks for the invitation. But, like, I'm not going to be, stepping out into the box, whatever it is, at 11 p.m. for this snowy football game. But God forbid. I mean, he was just, it was just a staple of every single event I know you guys went to. I know Ken, it was real important to you. I know we were both a part of you guys' wedding last year, your specific Ken Barler's wedding, and that was a great memory for me as well because we had a great time that day together. And I just put it this way: when the news come down, I frankly couldn't believe it, but at some point, I said you get to a stage in life where you can't not believe it. Just as so just as easily could have been one of us, and it will be all of us one day. And it was something you're unprepared for. I was unprepared. I wasn't aware if he was in ill health. I wasn't prepared for. To me, it just seemed like very sudden and unexpected thing. Whatever health issues he had, I wasn't aware of, nor were they my business. But what is my business is making sure that I know tonight we're gonna do the show. By and large, as a tribute to him.
Yes, sir.
And deservedly so. And
probably every show going forward.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I hope you guys realize, like I said, I was sitting here tonight, starting to watch some college basketball, chat with Ken a little bit, to the seat to my left, currently filled by Tommy Thompson. But it was usually John's seat, and I just expect any moment he's just going to walk in and sit down here. And the silence without that was eerie. I kept expecting it at any moment, meaning, Ken, as you know, we've talked a couple of times in the interim. Some of this stuff still hits home. It doesn't get any easier. I know, Ken, you were, of the sentiment last week. This is something, he would have wanted us to carry on with the show, without a doubt.
Absolutely.
And let's face it, the fact that we didn't do it last week, he probably would have called us wusses for not having done it. Yep. But sometimes you need to take a step back. And like I said, this isn't, say the first or the last tribute. It's just the first step. But one thing, like I said, that'll be my greatest memory of him. I know we shared a great passion for sports. We enjoyed, the camaraderie that we had together on the show, and for sure, it's going to be different. And like I said, so the advice I try to give everyone, like I said, at some point in life, you're always dealing with some level of grief. It never gets easier. But the thing we talked about when his dad passed was how we both treated this show as sort of a form of solace from that. It was a way to get away from life's troubles. In fact, I told him coincidentally, I just had a minor surgery like 2 days prior to that show, and I was officially on bed rest. But I walked down here in my pajamas from my condo. I was violating my bed rest, edict, and the doctor himself is actually into sports betting. He listens, and he texted me the next day, "What the heck were you doing? You weren't supposed to, be out in public or whatever." But we just agreed that this was the getaway from your problems, for an hour and a half. And so with that, we're gonna, I think in his honor, do the same tonight. And I think that the best way to honor his memory was to carry on, and we know he would want us to be here. Yeah. So with that, I'll stop babbling. And Tommy Thompson, who I know was also a close friend of John's.
Real quick, thanks, Josh, for picking me up right there. I really thought that I was going to have the strength to get through the intro. It was tough. I mean, we did have to cancel the show last week. I thought I could be strong a week ago, and I have this flood of emotions right now. So I'm glad that you're to my left, Josh. This is the longest running sports handicapping or sports show in the area. It's been going on for 20 plus years, and John has been a big part of that for 90% of it. And what he brings to the show is his sharpness, his brain of useless knowledge and the ability to recall things, like his mom was saying. It's like his mind is a movie, and he just if it happened and he's read it or he's seen it, he can recall it.
He would bail me out all the time. Yeah, like I'm trying to think of a baseball player from 15 years ago. Oh, who was the AL MVP? And I'm trying to not sound dumb, and boom, he would have it. Like he said, thank you.
There was many times, Josh, as you said here, Marco, his brother is right here, and I know his mom's listening. Gail, God bless you. We love you. We love JD and his family, and we're going to have a big celebration here. No radio show next week. We're going to have the big celebration live right here at the event room at the County Eva next Friday at 5 p.m. And if you're a friend of John's and the family, please come down. But, as Marco pointed out, this is the first time Marco's been down here to see us through the show, and he sees that I have a laptop and I have, all kinds of notes and stuff. And I look over at Josh, and he's got all kinds of notes. But JD's mind is so sharp that he never sat down in 20 years with a note. And there's so many times I would just try to stump him with something. Impossible. Impossible. And his passion, a lot of people don't know this, was radio. I mean, he really wanted to have his own radio. And when you see the McAfee shows and these guys and their wit, I mean, JD has recall that he would put him to shame. I mean, and he was my brother, my best friend. He was in my wedding, and he's going to be missed.
Yeah. And tough to follow all that up, and so I'm gonna circle back to something Josh said about just life of the party. Steps in the room and illuminates it, and not with bad energy.
The only reason Josh walked down here in his pajamas is because John is here. I mean, if it would have been you and me and Brandon, he just said, you guys got this.
Ken, I remember,
That's
I
true.
I remember he texted me, he said, I'm out. Someone else said they're out. Like, I guess that means I'm in. I heard, I think John also
PJ
texted saying,
Josh.
I'll be there. I'm like, all right, I'll get down there somehow.
Did he look at you and kind of just shake his head and those John eyes like, what?
What are you doing?
like JD is known to do. So go ahead, Tommy.
I mean, I know we've all been in the same boat of trying to formulate something in our mind to say and get through it, and it's tough. And driving here, I still didn't know what I was going to say, but this kind of brought full circle. All the friends and family, we've all talked and everything, but the listeners and the impact that he had on the listeners that tune in every Friday to listen to us.
Yes.
And it brings me back to, Ken will remember this because this is the last Wolfpack alumni tournament we did at Nevada that we actually still liked Coach Norvell.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sitting at a table, and there's somebody there, and he goes, don't you do the radio show? And I go, yeah. And he goes, you're Tommy. And I go, yeah. And I go, there's Kenny B right there. And he goes, oh, cool. And he goes, where's the Hawk? Where? Like, he was so excited about the Hawk. And I was like, he doesn't deal these, unfortunately. But he care less about you and I. It was, where's the Hawk?
Yeah.
And that, literally, that's the impact that man had on anybody.
Oh, there's no doubt we're getting ready to lose a lot of viewership. I hope we can. I hope we can survive this.
Keep them up.
I really do. Go ahead, Tommy.
And again, it just
listenership. Sorry.
I mean, he was a guy I played softball against 25 years ago, and then became a teammate 23 years ago, and he became a brother at some point shortly after that, and just he's the man, and he's going to be missed. And
absolutely.
I mean, we all know he wore a size 15 shoe, but no matter what, whether it's this show, friendship, whatever, golf buddy, those shoes are going to be goddamn hard to fill.
Yep.
That's true, man.
You know, talking to Kyle, and I'm going to turn it over to Brandon. I'm going to tell one more story real quick. Talking to our buddy Kyle Backlund, who's helping us arrange all the services and stuff like that. You know, he talking to his mother. Gail, I know you're listening, but he really – I don't think you guys really grasp how many friends John had. And when people pass, everybody's got kind things to say. But JD, his reach is beyond what you can comprehend. I mean, Gail, he didn't have a friend. He didn't have 10 friends. He didn't have 100 friends. I think somebody told me he had 1,500 friends on Facebook. He keeps in touch with those people. And we've got people flying back from the East Coast. I mean, John's reach was huge. He wanted to be around people. I have a core of people that I really like being around. And other than that, I kind of want to just be by myself, but not this guy. I mean, Gail, he was so special, and he never walked around like he was a big shot. But he was a big shot. He was a big shot.
Well, and he made you want to be around him. And
well, how many times did they say, Ken, do you want to go to this? And I go, is John going? Yeah, okay, I'm in.
All right, let's go.
You just don't know what you're going to miss. I mean, like his girlfriend said, he's so infectious that she didn't care what they were doing. Yeah. As long as he's around. You could be driving to Winnemucca. It's exciting. You could be heck, I mean, there's no situation where you didn't want him around.
No.
Go ahead. Brandon.
It wasn't. No. Man, John, it's crazy. I'm the young buck. I'm the the loud kid who doesn't have that
Let's
much
get this
history.
straight. You were never a buck.
Facts.
I joined old enough.
You might be able to hoop, but you couldn't hang.
I couldn't. Hey, hold on. We'll talk about that later because I used to hang with John all the time, right? And we used to drink a lot. Anyway, the one thing I want to say, John was like my spirit animal. I mean, our similarities all the way down to our differences. Like he was my spirit animal. Steelers fan. We're the wrestling WWE guys over here, and then all the way down the spirit animal conversation. Like I argued AEW and he argued WWE. We would fight as best friends. We would text all night, and Katie's like, "Why are you on your phone like that?" It's because John just doesn't understand. And we would go back and forth, and one of my favorite things about John is that, for one, as Kenny said, not Kenny, as Josh said, like this radio show is a solace away from life, right? This is our hour and a half to be away from all the things we deal with for the rest of the week. And the only reason I'm on this show is because of John.
Yeah.
The only reason. And I remember the day that he gave me the opportunity, and she was there with me. My girlfriend's right next to me, and today is her due date. for our baby, and John's going to be the guardian angel for that baby. But I remember the day I showed up at a Pizza Baron, and I saw him wearing all Steelers stuff. And I knew him from before because, Steelers fans tend to accidentally run into each other and then forget about each other and come back. And I run into him, and he's like, yo, we just start arguing Steelers. And he was like, yo, you should be on the radio show. He said, can you talk with the mic? I said, absolutely. And he's like, come up, show up, do this. And it was the episode right before the Super Bowl that year. I showed up, I did it. He was like, man, you did great. And just the love that John gives off.
Oh, yeah.
Like, it made me, believe, oh, man, I was on the radio and I did great. Whether it was, I only spoke for 5 minutes, which is crazy because now I talk all the time. But I believed in myself. And then John was the one who called me back for the March Madness episode to come back. And then from that day, to believe it or not, I didn't ask Kenny. John said, just come every week.
Yeah.
I didn't ask Kenny. he said, don't worry about Kenny.
Yeah. Don't worry about Ken.
Ken likes you. Come every week.
He knows.
And John has been one of those people that over the last 2 years of my life has actually been one of my best friends.
He touches everybody like that, Brandon. And that's the whole thing. I mean, listen to Josh. I mean, they bonded. He's just that heart. I mean, that's just who he is. Yeah. I mean, it's like his brother Scott said today. I was talking to his brother on the phone. He said, if you didn't like John, you're the one that's got a problem.
Yeah, you're the one with the problem.
And it's the truth because people always want to say good things about people, at the end. But these are the truths. These aren't good. You're not saying anything. You're just telling the truth.
Absolutely. That's
all you're doing.
For his 50th birthday, right after the show, we went to go celebrate. You remember that?
Yeah.
And I was just walking with y'all. I was hanging out. And y'all were like, oh, we're going to celebrate his birthday. So I followed along. And
we go to Louis and have pecans?
Yep. And I had plenty of them. And I went to the
We introduced Brandon to pecans.
Oh, you didn't introduce me. It was fun. It was a great time. I told Cadis, hey, I'm not coming home early. I'm stay out here with John for his birthday.
Yeah.
And I remember right after that, John messaged me the next day. He said, thank you for celebrating me and thank you for being so good to my people. And then I told him, I said, I feel like I'm one of your people.
Yeah.
And that's what I got to say. We
That's
love you.
good.
Thank you.
Yeah. Josh, that was absolutely beautiful what you said too. I think you covered a lot of area. Said a lot of things that I believe and I felt. That's the reason you're a professional writer. So, but very very articulated. Very well. So I appreciate that. So, Gail, I know you're out there. We love you. Your son is a saint. He's up with Chet and Jerry right now, and I don't know. I mean, I know that when John got to heaven, he looked at him and looked at everybody and just goes, "You have no idea what you're in for now," because you guys got the hawk up there now too. So, love you guys, love John, love the family. Gail, thank you for listening. I know you're out there, and Josh, thank you for that. Tommy, thank you for your thoughts. Brandon, thank you for your thoughts. Katie, you're a beautiful woman. I can't wait to have for your child to get. Are you going to? We should change the name and get maybe John or Hawk in the name now, something like that.
That'll be her nickname when she becomes a great softball player.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go. All right.
Hawk.
In John's memory, we're going to close the first segment and let ESPN and the broadcasters send some messages out there. So we'll be back at these messages on ESPN 94.1 FM, 1450 AM. All right, welcome back to the William Hill Sports Show. Did the first segment in tribute of John Stevens, handicapping in the sky right now. And I was just talking to my manager, Lisa. She's here too, and she said that the show's going to be on YouTube. She's going to hopefully get it down there, get it downloaded to YouTube tonight, so you'll be able to listen to the show. And we're going to call it Hawks Show. So if you get on YouTube and look up Hawks Show, you'll be able to get that on YouTube. So that's exciting. Like I said, Josh, what you did was such a beautiful thing. We all had a lot of things, but for you to pick things up right there, it was fantastic. All right.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
Colts Falcons, and thanks Mark Shannon for listening. And Mark Shannon,
shout out Mark.
Thanks for being a part of the show, and thanks for stepping in when we need you. And Gail, love you. Colts Falcons. Sorry, let's get back to this. 6:30 game in Berlin. We're back to the early games back.
Germany.
Yeah, exactly, in Berlin. So Colts laying 6.5 till a 48.5. Colts, tied for the best record in football at 7-2, 6-3 against the spread. They're coming off a loss, 27-20 to the Steelers. And Josh, I kind of look at this game where they have a bye on deck right now, coming off a loss. I think this is a real bad spot for the Falcons. I think that the Colts are looking to get to 8-2 going into their bye, kind of controlling the destiny of the AFC right now. And I think that you just get – but 6.5 is a lot. It's on a neutral. So you're kind of telling me that if they're playing in Indy, that this would be over like 8.5.
Yeah.
You just kind of look at this.
Right,
it's a lot of points, Josh.
Ken, I hope you're right. One, as you know, it's funny. I need the Colts now. We had a conversation a couple of weeks ago about some future odds or whatnot. I don't know if I showed you the figure, but I'm heavily invested now in Shane Steichen as Coach of the Year. His odds took a little bit of a blow with that loss to the Steelers. You can kind of see that coming. But I thought it would be in a different week. I mean, I actually thought the Steelers were going to win, the Aaron Rodgers Bowl against the Packers. They didn't, and then come back, and they were sort of due for a game like that. And I just hope, a lot of people weren't knows. I mean, Daniel Jones, as he turned back into a pumpkin. At the same time, Steichen's main competition for that award is Mike Vrabel of the Patriots. And they should have lost to the Falcons last week, except for, the Falcons had a nice comeback. They missed a field goal at the end. So for my own interest, I need the Colts to keep winning, and hopefully the Patriots lose. It's tough. The bottom line is they need to get the running game back in order. You realize the Colts are DeForest Buckner, their top defensive end, is out. They're missing some pieces. They did just trade for Sauce Gardner, which is great. Actually, that was the biggest weakness. Was the secondary that had been gassed. Exactly.
Concussion disappeared.
Yeah, it's a huge thing though to fix that secondary. The Falcons are extremely dangerous. But I'm with you. I actually think the Colts get away. I think they get back on track and win. I'm not sure I want to lay 7 points though.
I think this is a real light number after a loss against the Steelers.
Shout out JD.
And again, maybe there was, in all reality, if there was divine intervention with that, they would have missed that field goal. I mean,
Boswell don't miss.
We had
that's the problem. Boswell don't miss. So
30 people in this room hoping, because John Hawk Stevens always wore number 24, and we were hoping he'd miss it. So it ended on 24.
There was other Steeler fans here too, Brandon, and they're all rooting for Boswell to miss because Hawk's number in his entire life was 24. Basketball, football, softball, everything, and they're sitting on 24.
Yeah, and we're winning,
and we're going miss.
Let's get those 24. But
even the Steeler fans.
But you know what, John the Hawk Stevens.
And they go, what do you think? And I go, no chance. This is Boswell.
Yeah, and one of my favorite part is John would have been like, and Boswell better make that kick.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
and that's why I love it.
But
we had 24, and Boswell made a kick for him. That's all I see.
But that being said, the Colts don't want to lose any ground to the Texans, who've been playing much better as of late and are probably going to be their only competition in that division. And they're playing a team that got blanked and gave up 30 points to the Panthers a few weeks back.
We keep talking about that, but we're talking about after that, the Falcons have beat the Bills, okay? I think the one thing I'm looking at here is the Falcons have a little bit of dysfunction. Like the quarterback's a little bit of hurt. They don't know how much they want to use Bijan to run versus to use him as a weapon. I think they're a little bit dysfunctional where the Colts are 100% in. They had a rough game versus the Steelers, but you're talking about a neutral site right now. I think it's going to be best ran team versus best ran team, and the Colts are going to beat them. And I don't actually.
And I think they're going to cover the. That's why I'm saying they're going to cover the 6.5
by 10.
Let's just not forget one thing: the Falcons, is for all the offensive talent they have and all the hype that we're giving them, they're 3-5.
Yeah.
They're 3 and 5. Yeah. They do play a little bit of defense. They have yards per game, the fourth best yards per game average.
Blitz a lot.
And in passing yard, they give up the least.
High split rate in the league. Yeah. They sacked Drake May 5 times last night, turned him over twice.
Yeah.
I mean, their problem defensively.
Yeah, defensively. So I think it's too many points too. I think that I don't think they could win the game. And I think that if they'd beat Pittsburgh last week, referring to the coach, I think this would have been a prime spot for the Falcons this week.
Yes.
But just when you think teams are down, they come back. Just when you think teams are way up on top of the hill, they lose, like the Lions last week. So we're going to get to that later. But I like the Colts to win the game, but I think the 6.5. It's 6.5 right now. If it gets to 7.5, I'm going to be looking. I'm going to be looking to maybe take the touchdown with the Falcons on a neutral. Minnesota at home versus Baltimore. Minnesota 4-4. Baltimore 3-5. Baltimore's getting healthy right now. Baltimore. I don't know if you say they struggled with Miami last week, winning 28-21. Minnesota off a huge. This is a prime example right now. Minnesota beats Detroit 27-24. Minnesota is 7 of their 8 games, 7 have went over. They're 7-1 as far as over and under is concerned. By far the best over team in the NFL. Yeah. Baltimore's getting healthy. This is a great spot for Baltimore. I think Minnesota's riding a little bit too high. I think J.J. Carthy may have had a little bit too good of a game. They might be drinking that Kool-Aid a little bit. I think 4 is a small number. I like Baltimore in this game, guys.
Routing them?
Yeah, well, Ken, I like the Ravens to come back. We knew we needed the time for Lamar Jackson and a lot of their defensive guys to get healthy as well. Not to mention they made a couple trades, but you can tell. I mean, guys like Roquan Smith, just a couple. I mean, a couple of their top defensive players back into the fold makes a huge difference. They should be a completely different team down the stretch. I feel like the Vikings kind of caught the Lions off guard last week. It's one of those deals. They actually got, and this is important factor.
That's a division game,
their top 2 offensive linemen were back who had been out, and so that helps a ton. And with McCarthy, people realize he actually didn't play particularly well. 143 passing yards. But here's a good thing that does separate him from Carson Wentz. Not as many negative plays in terms of the sacks or whatnot. Wentz, when he had time, could throw pretty effectively. But he always had a problem holding the ball too long. So many negative plays that set you behind the chains. I don't necessarily think McCarthy's going to lead the Vikings back into like playoff contention and whatnot. But at least he kind of keeps it moving. They integrate their run game a little bit more now. They're just a little more functional all the way around. And not to mention they also got some guys back on the defensive end. But if you watch the Ravens and Dolphins last week, which actually blow, you'll see guys like Kyle Hamilton makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. So I think this is the case here. I think the Vikings caught the Lions sleeping a little bit last week. Also, their defense forced some short field. They turned over Goff a couple of times, took advantage of some short fields. A bit on the fluky side. I don't necessarily want to lay these points, but I think what Minnesota did last week is on the fluky side. I would agree with the Ravens.
It's week 10, right? We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, and the Steelers have, a 2-game lead on Baltimore?
Baltimore is 3-5?
Yeah.
Steelers are 5-3?
Yeah. So, I mean, they're starting to get healthy. They're starting to get player, and it's still not a must-win. But this is a game that, I mean, you can't lose this game and fall behind again if you're going to compete for that division. And it's going to come down to twice in the last 5 weeks, it's Steelers-Ravens.
Well, there's a reason the Ravens are favored to win the division still because they're the Ravens.
Yeah. So, but that being said, even though it's on the road, it's indoors. I point out what Kenny said. I really like this total of 49 to fly way over, but I also think Baltimore covers the 4-point spread here.
I think it's a very interesting game. I think one thing that we learned about the Ravens is that they kind of play for their player, not their coach. Like, they wake up when Lamar is back there taking snaps. So I would have looked at this earlier and said, oh, Vikings are probably going to beat these guys because Vikings are tough at home and they run a very unique defense that bothers people. But with Lamar back there, I kind of have to lean a certain way. Honestly, I think the 4 might be too little. I think it's a field goal game. I think it's either team field goal. But I think that if the Ravens win the game, then it's actually the Ravens stamp saying, hey, we are going to try to run and win the AFC North.
All right. Miami and Buffalo. Bills head to Miami laying 9.5, total of 50. Talking about earlier the Colts-Falcons game, the Bills are coming off a loss to win versus Kansas City. They're 6-2 right now.
High is high.
Man, that 9.5 is a lot of points, Josh.
It really is, Cam. At the same time, I put this. I remember the first time they played a few weeks back in Buffalo, Miami kind of gave they were desperate to give a respectable performance. They did. They came up a little short, and we've seen or heard, apparently, they moved on from their GM, but evidently Mike McDaniel, the coach, will be retained through the end of this year. We've seen him sort of be up and down in terms of their actual competitive, nature. I feel like the Ravens kind of broke them last week. I mean, that's sort of who the Dolphins are at this point. So I feel like
28-6.
Yeah, so I feel like even if you consider, the Bills are in a bit of a letdown spot against the Chiefs, that could be the case. I also think they could recover from that and still cover this. I don't want. I actually think the Bills start rolling here. I'm not into the Dolphins on this one.
I'm probably just going to stay away from this game because I can make a lot of strong arguments that you're going back to Miami. That game last week was in Baltimore. But what are the Dolphins playing for? I don't think they respect McDaniel.
They're trying to find some way to retain him by doing everything else around him.
They have a talented team, but it's just they're not putting it together. What's this, the fourth year?
Well, I mean, is it putting it together, or is it the players not wanting to play? I feel like sometimes the players give up, and I think that's the part of Mike McDaniel's that isn't developed. Are you motivating these guys to play? You're innovative as possible offensively, but are these guys wanting to play for you? I think that's the part they're losing. I think that's the part that Miami thinks they can hopefully get out of.
And Brent, I think that's an issue because, as you probably were, some of these since-traded players from Miami indicate otherwise. They indicate Mike McDaniel doesn't have a lot of respect in the locker room.
Yep.
Maybe it's time for a change in leadership. And with that, it's like, okay, now you've got to count on your professionalism to sort of be the motivating factor to get out there. And we also know we don't necessarily grasp how strong of a leader Tua necessarily is, but there are occasionally times like the day they upset the Falcons, like when they put it together, the team's not completely bereft of talent, but I feel like they're on that downhill slide.
I agree. I think it's Bills.
Yeah, the Bills. It's how bad will the Bills beat them? That's what we're betting on right now.
Who do the Bills have on deck? Tampa Bay. It's a tough game on deck. So, let's see. Cleveland and the Jets. Jets are at home. Cleveland's a 2-point favorite on the road. 37.5. This Jets team this offense is just horrible. But when both teams are coming off a bye. The crazy thing about the Jets team, when we talk about them not being able to score and this offense being horrible, they're still 5-3 versus in totals. So of the 8 games, 5 have went over. But short line like this, and I look at what unit is the best unit? It's the Cleveland defense.
Yep.
And when you're laying less than a field goal here, I like Cleveland to go in there. I think it's a cute little story for the Jets and 1-7, but. How much do they really want to play, Josh? I mean, they just traded everybody away, but Brees Hall.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree, Ken. It's one of those deals where they were, obvious sellers at the deadline. It's not really working out, but I realize. That's sort of an indication when you do that to get other draft assets. So you're kind of, starting over again, especially when it is one of the top, corner Sauce Gardner, your best defensive lineman, Quinnen Williams, and then makes you wonder with the Brees Hall thing. It's kind of funny. I actually think some other teams were foolish for not partying with. Apparently, they wanted a third-round pick. Why wouldn't you do that? Look at teams like the Chiefs and Texans could greatly benefit. Why wouldn't they budge? But I question the Jets' motivation for getting up, and they haven't even named a quarterback yet. We don't know if they're going with Fields again or not. Although I will say, I give the Jets credit. That was pretty wild. That game they won against the Bengals. I didn't see that coming, but. It's a tough spot. Honestly, for me, overall, it's a pass, but I agree. It's probably Browns or nothing. They're in a little bit better shape.
Yeah. All right, no, Tom is going to let me hop in because, we always say defense wins championships. You know what defense really wins? Games when there's bad teams involved.
It's true.
And so that's the funniest part when you said, how did the Jets beat the Bengals? Because there's bad teams involved. Whoever's defense would have been better would have worked out, and that's how it worked out. This is another one of those situations. I think it's Browns. The Browns have one of the best, if not the best defensive player in the league. I don't want to say that, especially on Hawk Day. But Myles Garrett is going to run through that line, is going to get there. I think that the Browns are going to win this one. And I never
John,
win the Browns.
Tommy, I just said Tommy. You know why?
Because I'm right here.
No, because you're sitting where John always sits.
Exactly.
And I say, Tommy, the Browns laying points on the road? Give me the Browns.
Yeah, give me the Browns.
And if this game was played last week before the trade deadline, I might lean towards the Jets a little bit, but when you trade away those defensive studs, really, it's deflating. As a team, you can't sit in the locker room and think, we're fighting for the rest of this year. No, we're giving up.
Can I get one joke off real quick, though? The Jets traded all this to get 5 or 6 first-round draft picks over the next 2 years. In 2022, they had 6 first-round draft picks over the next 2 years, and they pulled the haul and just traded the haul.
Yeah.
So maybe it's you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Maybe it's-
that's why I like the Browns in this situation. Again, with what Brandon said, their defense is still stellar. So they
Without the top 2 defensive players?
no,
Oh,
the
the
Browns.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And they're going to have no problem shutting down that lackluster.
Is Myles
Jets.
Garrett playing this game?
Oh yeah.
Give me the
Browns.
Or give me the Browns.
Give me the Browns minus 2.5 all day
right.
long.
Let's head off to our next commercial break. We come back. We'll continue with this NFL slate on ESPN 94.1 FM, 1450 AM. All right, we're back. Talking sports, talking football, paying tribute to John the Hawk Stevens, which we'll be doing probably every show from here on out. I was thinking about this too, guys. Josh, you know how we have the Sonner special, the thing that Paul Sonner used to always do. He liked to lay
favorite and under, correct?
Favorite and under, correct? Yeah, double-digit favorite, big favorites, and bet it under,
right.
and hit it a rate. So, and then in I don't know, the next few shows we need to start thinking about what's the Hawk special. You know, we got the Sonner special, now we got to have the John special. I don't know if he really has a trend that he really liked. But anyways, Houston, Jacksonville. Jacksonville headed to Houston, laying 1 on the road, total of 37.5. C.J. Stroud is out. You know, the one thing Jacksonville's getting ready to run into is the number 1 defense in the NFL in yards per game and points per game. They're number 4 in passing yardage and number 6 in rushing yards. So, you know, is Trevor Lawrence going to be able to go on the road and manage this game? You know, Jacksonville escapes last week with a 30-29 victory over the Raiders, where Houston, you know, they lose to Denver 18-15, and probably again if they should have won. But, you know, with the backup quarterback right here, I think it's a fair number, guys. I really don't see a lot of edge right here. If anything, I might lean Houston a little bit here and just in a close scoring game.
No, I agree, Ken. I lean a little bit toward the Jags, but only slightly, because it seemed like, you know, they had a breakout season with all the rookies they drafted and the new coach. It looked like they were going to be one of those breakout teams. Remember, they upset the Chiefs on Monday night and looked like they were coming right along. They've fallen apart since then. They got completely routed, you know, by the Rams in that overseas game. Their defense has fallen apart. The offense has been, you know, inconsistent. At the same time, we know Houston has the same troubles, Ken. It's like, for as great as that defense is, right, they have a lot of one-score losses because they can't get over the top. Last week, all they got was 5 field goals. They outplayed Denver most of the way and still ended up losing that game. A lot of people think, Davis Mills might be a huge downgrade from C.J. Stroud, but you got to remember, a few years back when they had a few transitions, they actually gave Davis Mills almost a 2-year Stroud as the starting quarterback. Well, he eventually drafted Stroud, and he wasn't that bad. But you got to realize he actually had a pretty decent connection with guys like Nico Collins. That's when Nico first came on the map. We've talked about, for instance, like Mac Jones and the way he had the great, you know, numbers and chemistry with Brian Thomas Jr. and, you know, the Jags haven't been able to find that. I'm saying Mills has been around. He's at least, you know, he's not great, but he's functional. And yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if the Texans win this one.
I mean, it's such a close spread, and the one thing that makes me lean towards the Jags is it's Christmas morning for them with getting a new receiver that's actually pretty elite, and that might be the difference.
With Jacoby Myers?
Yeah.
Yeah, he might not even play, Tommy. But that's what I'm saying.
The last thing I read is that he was going to play.
But you keep hearing about things, too. Like, for instance, we know the Seahawks also traded for Rashid Shaheed. I think it's funny. But from both an analyst perspective, I know all of us, you know, play, you know, fantasy football and stuff together. Like, Rashid Shaheed or this thing, or it means Parker Washington. Nice to use him for 1 week. Like, he's still the starting slot, and Trevor Lawrence has clearly shown, you know, a connection with him. I just think it's funny to immediately assume a guy they just traded for is going to make some huge impact. Very unlikely. but we'll see what happens with Jacoby.
But
Tommy, go ahead.
His impact could still come from not even getting catches, just, you know, drawing some of that defense away from other players for other opportunities. And
I'm gonna go back to a JDism. Hawkism, that's right. Hawkism. I haven't introduced that yet. I'm going to introduce it in my speech. A Hawkism. The theme that we rode in the NCAA tournament this year was Larry Gatlin singing Houston, one step closer.
He would play it on his phone. We'd just be sitting somewhere, and all of a sudden he'd start playing Houston.
So it's Houston for that reason only. Listeners, Houston covers this game in the name of the Hawk.
I love that.
And the Son and the Holy Ghost.
In the name of the Hawk. I love
the
that.
Son and the Holy Ghost. All right. Tampa Bay at home versus the Patriots. What a great game this is, Josh. I mean, you've got these two teams, 7-2, 6-2. New England's 6-3 ATS. Tampa Bay's 5-3 ATS. Tampa Bay's coming off a bye, getting a little bit healthier right now. Is Bucky Irvin going to play?
No. In fact, they still have the same guys on offense out. Bucky Irvin ruled out today. You know, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who they say he may be gone for the season as well. They was talking about a December return. So all the offensive guys are basically still out, but. I believe the Bucs. Yeah, I don't think they have any other serious injuries. I think they're actually getting a little healthier on the defense. A couple of defensive linemen back. We mentioned, Ken, with the Patriots were expected, you know, to bounce back a little bit. They have looked pretty good so far. But what's their biggest win? I mean, I'd say outside of the Bills, who I believe are the only winning team they've beat so far. I think the Patriots are a little bit paper champions. Yeah, but I don't think, does Atlanta have a winning record still? No, they're 3-5. I just put it this way: I really need the Patriots to start regressing to the mean for my own wagering purposes. But I think the Bucs are better. Remember, they were all the rage a few weeks ago. Got blown. People seem to be surprised when they lost to the Lions, who are a better team. They're a little bit healthier coming off the break. If they're going to stay in control, of their division, I think they need to get this one. I think this line is actually a little bit too respectful to the Patriots. Give me the Bucs
At home, Tampa Bay at home.
Tampa Bay at home, and Baker he finds a way to win. He has such a huge heart when it comes to
I love Baker
to
Mayfield.
competing.
JD
And
love Baker Mayfield too.
Again, the Patriots aren't the Patriots of old. They're going to be up and coming, and I think they're putting the right structure together.
Record's better than they are.
But exactly, their record doesn't reflect really the team they are. So even with a disheveled offensive support for Baker, I'll still take them at home to win by a field
And
goal.
you realize that says what's respected is the Patriots are getting the odds. Right now, Drake May's the third MVP candidate behind Josh Allen, Patrick
See
Mahomes.
what
Like,
happens
give
when
me
you
a
win
break.
games?
He's very good. You're going to tell me he's ahead of Matthew Stafford?
Well, Well, what people are saying, though, too, is the people that hate the Patriots and the dynasty, well, guess what? It only took them a couple of
Yeah,
years.
that's funny.
You're getting ready to hate him again for a while.
What's funny, Ken, is I didn't hate him. I necessarily care regardless. I know a lot of people like to celebrate when they were down for a couple of years. I actually like this team and enjoy their, progress. I mean, I think they are fun to watch, and the Bucs are a great watch too. That's going to be my favorite.
And I'm pretty sure that Ramondre Stevenson was ruled out.
Yeah, he's out.
Yeah.
Trayvon Henderson's in there, but without a doubt. So the early slate on Sunday, this is going to be the game I watch. Every single play of it should be fun, but nonetheless, give me the Bucs. I don't want to see the Patriots fade away a little bit.
I have nothing more to add. Give me the Bucs on that.
Coming off a bye.
Coming off a bye, exactly. Give me the Bucs on some rest. But I will give a joke because I'm in a joking mood in honor of JD. I heard something today, and someone said, "Do men ever feel the same pain as pregnancy?" Because when the girls yelling, and someone said Bucky Urban hasn't played since week 5.
I saw that. It was on Twitter or something. I saw a tweet that was like that. Yeah, that was very funny.
like,
What's the
I'm
men's
dying
equivalent to childbirth or whatever?
Yeah.
And yes, that was funny.
Yeah, I'm dying over here in fantasy.
It's killing me. Carolina versus New Orleans. Carolina at home laying 5.5 points, 38.5. New Orleans 1-8 this year. Carolina 5-4. Carolina playing to an over means too 6-3 as far as ATS is. They're covering at a 6-3 pace. They're coming off a big. This is what's scary to me. 6-3 ATS. They're coming off a big win at Green Bay. We have to play Carolina this week in the Survivor contest, and going against New Orleans, it looks like it should be a slam dunk. The Saints 1-8. They dumped a bunch of people. I've never been so nervous in a contest. We kind of have a nice map moving forward. Trying to win this $14 million at Circa. I need Carolina so bad this week. I'm not giving any opinions, any thoughts, anything. Just
Carolina's bad when you need
let's
them.
go Panthers. I don't know. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
Ken, it feels like I don't want to say a trap game. Right now, I've had a hard time buying into Carolina so far. But if you've seen the Saints at all, especially last week, there's no other way to say it. They are trash. That is an absolute terrible team.
They are
as bad as
trash.
Spencer Rattler was, Tyler Shuck was even worse. But it would have
Yeah,
helped.
they're
Actually, they couldn't even control it. I mean, they had the ball for 16 minutes against the Rams. Maybe they get a little bit better. And so same thing where you might conventional wisdom would say where the Panthers just beat the Packers as this double 2-touchdown underdog. Maybe they have a little letdown. It'd have to be a heck of a letdown. I mean, again, I think you could still come out a little flat and should be able to beat the Saints. If this is somehow, at first, it only opened at 3.5, and it since gone to 5.5. I thought at 3.5. Yeah, odds makers are still sleeping on the Panthers. They are, even though they're a little bit up and down, it doesn't always look aesthetically pleasing. They're far ahead of the Saints. Having said this, we know this is the NFL. Anything can happen. Panthers are nothing.
Yeah, I don't see it. I mean, that line opened up at 40 for the total. It's down to 38.5.
Yeah.
And I don't see the Saints putting up more than 10, maybe 13. And on the same flip side, the Panthers aren't going to go out and score 34. So I really like the under in this game. And if anything, I'd probably take Panthers money line just for a little bit. I mean, that 4 could be a little tricky because it could be a 13-10 game.
I actually would take the under. Sounds really, really good to me. And one thing I have about the Panthers is every time I believe in them is not the right time to believe
Good point.
in them.
Exactly.
They play good as an underdog, but not as a favorite.
Phenomenal underdog. I mean, you beat the Falcons 30-0. Then
The
you
one-
go out there and just get smacked.
Brandon and Josh, the one thing we kind of do have in our favor is New Orleans has a bye next week.
Yeah.
So they might already be in bye mode.
And traded everyone.
And traded everyone.
Starting
Let's
quarterback.
get fired up. Let's go beat the Panthers.
They might do it.
Yeah, and we'll see. And here's the funny: if you saw any of that game, because it was a terrible game against the Rams, I said, by and large, the Rams never gave him the ball. There was one time Kamara turned it over, he fumbled about the 50-yard line in the third quarter. The Rams went on a 50-yard drive that ate like 9 minutes off the clock. Like, how is that even possible? Like, seriously, the Saints had like 3 possessions the entire game.
Yep.
With that, Shock didn't look that great. He wasn't awful. It looked about like you'd expect. So, yes, Shaheed was one of his primary targets.
Yeah.
He's out of there. Devon Vele, they called up, who I don't really think
Olave doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, right. And what's his name? Kamara's completely shot. I mean, he doesn't even belong. They should be playing the rookie, Devin Neal.
Is Kendra Mueller if
No, he's on IR.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
So it's basically just Alvin Kamara and Devin Neal. Jawan Johnson's probably the second best remaining target. The bottom line is, though, I think we saw so little of him because of the time of possession. Tyler Shuck. I want to say I don't think he actually, given how little they had the ball, his numbers and whatnot weren't terrible. I have a hard time seeing them getting consistent offense. So, but like I said, yeah, this is the NFL. It could be a one-score game. But maybe this is the time to believe in Carolina, because I got to say, they always played well at home. What actually turned it for me is when they played a Jets team that seemed to be of sort of equal talent or whatever. When you see them win on the road a couple times, that gets your attention. That's hard to do in the NFL.
Yep. All I was really going to say on this point was we spent way too much time on 2 terrible teams, but the best player on the field is going to be Rico Dowdle, and I'm going to keep yelling that from the top of the mountains for as long as I can.
Tet's questionable, isn't he?
Yeah, it just came down today with the hamstring late on the injury.
What about Chuba?
I think Chuba's healthy.
It was Rico who was also on the injury report, but he's cleared also.
He's cleared.
Wow.
I think
Bet the Rico props over.
Yeah, and they came out and said that Rico is number 1. Like like we kind of gave them a chance to do it together, and Rico looked better. Like we're just going.
Well, he got Wally pipped. He came in and took the reins and he said, "Okay, I want to be the running back." Let's look at some of these stats real quick. We don't have time to go to another game. I want to just look at. I want to look at Carolina's defense.
By the way, Rico Dowdle leads the NFC in rushing yards, and he's only started like 7 games.
You look at the offensive stats for New Orleans: 28th in yards per game, 22nd in passing yards, 27th in rushing yards,
Yikes.
31st in points per game, and 20th in third down percentage.
I'm not trying to throw up, Kenny. Calm down.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then, but if you look at Carolina, 23rd, 30th, they're 5th in rushing, and 27th in points per game. So it just, I always say that games shouldn't sneak up on bad teams, and then when you games sneak up on good teams. Carolina, what have they proven? They're still trying to they're still trying to prove they should be here. And they're 5-4 right now, Josh. I mean, they're contending. They got a playoff shot.
Exactly.
Ugly, but yeah.
They want to build on that momentum of beating a good team by destroying a terrible team.
I agree with that.
And they better.
All right.
And they better.
All right, there you have it. So went through our first hour. We have to head off to traffic here in just a moment. So shout out to John Stevens and Gail and Mark and Scott and all the family. And it's going to be we're going to miss you, buddy. So we'll back out these messages on ESPN 94.1 FM. All right.
Cowboy fan.
You know, one of the things when JD was here is we always used to say that if we coined the commercial breaks, we would be getting prizes all the time everywhere because the commercial breaks are absolutely hilarious. It's not stuff that's kid friendly or radio friendly, but it's some.
FCC might have some
I almost did
regulated fines for us, but
it's something. And I had a quick tidbit. I was going to say something about JD. Anyways, Chicago. What was I going to say? Chicago and the Giants. Chicago at home laying 4.5, total of 47.5. Bears are 5-3. Josh, it kind of seems a little bit like maybe Chicago's figuring it out just a little bit. You know, and then all the hype obviously on Jackson Dart. The Giants are still 2-7. Let's pump the brakes a little bit.
No Scatterbo.
Yeah, exactly, Ken. But it's a little tough. I'm wondering as well, do you start trusting the Bears? It's interesting. It does seem like they have the right coach in place. I know they're kind of lacking on the defensive side as well, and it seems like as soon as they make a little progress and they take a step back, I don't necessarily think I'm ready to trust them as a favorite either, so it's a tough one, and you're right. But with the injuries the Giants have had, it seems like whatever little magic they had for a few weeks is going to wear off a little bit. It's probably just a pass, but at 4.5, I actually think, still give me the underdog. Yeah, I'm not ready to trust the Bears as a favorite just yet.
I could see that.
Actually, you know what? I would shoot this blind in honor of JD. All of last season, he took the Bears. And I told him every day the Bears are terrible. And he kept taking the Bears. And you know what? I'm not even looking at the team. The Bears are playing in honor of JD. I'm taking the Bears.
Tommy, real quick, you look at the stats right here. Yards per game, the Bears were the fourth in the NFL at 390 yards per game. Rushing yards, they're the number 2 rushing team in the NFL at 144. And passing, they're the number 6 team in the, points per game, they're number 6. So, I mean, you kind of, and you look at the Giants side, look at these Giant stats. Yards per game, 29. Passing yards per game, 24. Rushing yards, 31. Points per game, 28.
It's ugly football when
it sure looks like Chicago and over to me.
And here's the thing.
Chicago and over.
They're 29 with Scatterbo only missing, one? This is going to be a second game that he's completely out?
He's technically a backup running back. We'll get back to it, though.
But still, he was a stud. And I just think Ben Johnson coming on board, everybody thought, he's going to set the world on fire. It takes a couple games to get acclimated, and I think the Bears' trajectory is clearly moving up. They've won 5 out of their last 6. Caleb Williams is actually starting to evolve as well.
Well, he stopped painting his fingernails.
True.
No, he didn't. He had orange ones.
It was clear coat, so you just didn't see it.
It was orange last week. No, it was orange last week.
That's JD.
It was orange last week. All I know is that.
But
I know
for Halloween.
all of that being said, the Giants are not a team that I think is going to compete with any other team they have the rest of the year. The only pause that gives me about maybe betting big on the Bears right now is they do play Minnesota next week. So it's one of those let's get out of here unscathed and compete because they're still trying to fight to compete in that division.
Well, the point is the Bears don't have any other opportunity. They have to win all their games. So you can't overlook the easy ones. You have to dominate. And, the one thing I'll say about the Giants is, hey, you're entertaining. You're terrible. It's like a dumpster fire that I can't take my eyes off of. I love watching it, but the Bears are going to win this game because they're starting to catch that stride, and it looks good. And for the fantasy people out there, Loveland is a pickup for the back half of the season. They're going to start using him. He went crazy last game, but that will not be his last one.
All right. Seattle Josh, do you have any parting shots on the game? All right. Seattle at Arizona, Josh. Seattle laying 6.5. Kind of a surprising team right here, Josh. The Seahawks 6-2 on the year, 6-2 against the spread. 5 of the 8 games have went over. Arizona kind of found they're kind of fading out Kyler Murray right here, little Jacoby Brissett, but Arizona coming off this big win versus Dallas. Man, respectfully, this has Seattle written all over it for me. Sorry.
Well, we're seeking, and I'll admit the Seahawks are better than I anticipated, but what you saw on Monday night, apparently why they're going with Jacoby Brissett. It's interesting. We've talked about Kyler Murray's struggles, previous weeks, and how it seems to not really been making the career progress you would expect at this point in time. If you watch the Cardinals upset the Cowboys the other night, it was crazy just how much he unlocked guys like Marvin Harrison Jr., who was a great receiving threat, but he's an outside type of guy. And Kyler simply does not look downfield. You saw some of these routes that he was completing that they aren't even attempted when Kyler's under there. Not to mention, opened up even more with McBride and Michael Wilson. The running game, despite being banged up, was reasonably effective. the Seahawks again. Yeah, they have kind of that old school combination. They like to, they play solid defense and they're just kind of efficient on offense. I think it's going to dry up at some point. But remember the Thursday night game a few weeks ago, where Arizona came all the way back from being down and lost at the buzzer. I actually think this is a letdown. I bet you this is a field goal game again. I'm taking the points.
Actually, I'm taking Arizona on the uptick. I'm taking Arizona on the uptick. I think that saying that Jacoby is their quarterback, you can say that Tyler's on IR.
Yeah.
Everyone's more confident. McBride's getting more touches, is moving.
Harrison.
Yep, and they've lost all of their running backs. So, we can't double down here. Brissett's a better passer of the ball.
Right.
And the way I look at it, Arizona, are they good? No. But are they the type of team that is going to scare good teams? Yes. So when they play bad teams, they're going to win.
As a Niner fan, I will never politic for Seattle being great. However,
Grow up.
absolutely. And this is why.
Grow up.
Arizona's going in to play the 5th-ranked scoring defense, and they just came off a big win against a Dallas team, which Mark was happy that they're on a bye, so we couldn't crap on the Cowboys. But they just played a team that has no defense. So they're going into the gauntlet right now. And
Seattle's gonna
at
beat 'em,
home with the 12th man that has come back this year. Give me Seattle all day long.
What's the spread?
6.5.
6.5.
Oh, I'm taking Arizona. That game's a 3-point game.
Arizona in the games that they don't win, they're always competing.
Always there. And they're much better competing with Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah. But
that's all I got to say.
Going outdoors in Seattle, coming off it's the fact they coming off this win against Dallas, it's
getting late. It's getting cold, huh?
Yeah, I like Seattle. Washington and Detroit, Josh. What do we got here? Detroit going on the road, laying 8.5, coming off a loss, 27-24. You know what Dan Campbell does after losses?
Crushes the opposition the following week. Yes, they're not only under him 12-0 the following week, and that's against the spread as well. I expect the same to hold up.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
So they're 12-0 following a loss and 12-0 ATS.
Yeah, absolutely. And
monsters.
Yep, and it's the right opponent at the right time. We talked about it's just off the rails for the Commanders. They had so many things work in their favor last year. We know Jane Daniels is hurt again. Their defense, you can't stop anybody. We saw what's still, I believe, a reasonably marginal, Seahawks offense just shred them to bits last week. And after the Lions had that, upset loss at home to the Vikings, you expect them to come back with a vengeance. I mean, another flat spot. I think Detroit would have to self-destruct. I mentioned earlier a couple of Goff turnovers were why the Vikings were in the game and eventually pulled the upset. They'd have to do that again for the Commanders to even keep it close. And even then, I remember the Mariota games. They couldn't get anything done against the Chiefs. I mean, he's functional, but they still have like 0 run game with Terry McLaurin still out. I just don't see them being able to catch up, and I do think it's Lions by double figures.
And I saw that stat, 12-0 against the spread after that, and it just I just feel maybe I would lean a little bit to the Commanders if Daniels was playing, but as much as I love Mariota, he's not the guy. He's serviceable to get you through till he gets healthy again.
Very serviceable.
But I think Detroit in this spot, Detroit's going to be one of my bigger plays this week.
Washington's coming off a whitewashing versus Seattle. They lost 38-14.
Yeah. It's rough offensively over there when there's not Jaden Daniels.
Let's be honest. They really don't know who the running is.
They don't.
The running back is. I know who they want it to be, and he had a couple of good games.
His name is Bill.
Yeah, Bill. Bill Krosky.
Don't say the other names. It's just Bill.
Yeah. So.
But, yeah. I mean, and the thing about the Lions, though, they're supposed to dominate, and they're going to in this game.
There's a lot of trends, a lot of stats. I mean, this isn't Josh. This isn't a stat that's been brewing over the last 30 years. This is during Dan Campbell's tenure in Detroit, and what happens when the Lions lose.
Just a few years,
Bites, kneecaps.
Yeah, they come up short, and the fire gets lit the next week, and they play like it.
Amon Ra also tends to go off of losses, like 11 catches for 1,000 yards.
I like every Jameer Gibbs prop over.
All right. I think we're all in agreement here. You really don't want to lay 7.5 on the road, but give me I like to have my little 6-teamers, and I'm gonna be having some Detroit and over in this game.
Right. Actually, Commanders. Yes, again, it's still a big number in the NFL. I think could happen, but you couldn't talk me into the Commanders in this one.
No, you couldn't.
Especially Lions on a teaser is a nice play too.
Right. San Francisco at home versus the Rams. Tommy, the Rams laying 4.5 in this game. Rams are 6-2. Niners 6-3. Man, the Rams beat New Orleans last week 34-10. San Francisco beat the Giants 34-24. This is one of those games that's getting late in the year, about halfway. We're at the halfway midpoint of the season. Purdy's not going to play.
Nope.
I keep looking at this, and I think San Francisco's – these games are always close.
And that I was going to allude to that. The only reason, as a Niner fan, that I lean towards taking that 4.5 is like 11 of the last 12 games have come down to basically a field goal in these matchups. And the Niners were decimated when they went down to Inglewood and played and won in overtime. They're even worse now. But somehow they find a way. And, I mean, maybe playing at home. However, the Rams have been playing a lot better and a lot more physical since then. And those teams always split. So this might be something that I'll tease the Niners up, put the Rams on the money line on a different card because Niners already beat them. It's going to be the Rams' turn. It's not a season-ending loss if the Niners do lose.
It's a reverse.
But just
all I know is the Rams.
And if you're going to force me to pick some, I'll take the points right now. But it'll come down to a game-time decision because I think that line might move a little bit.
Well, like I said, I mean, the Rams been rolling a little bit, but this line opened up 3. It's now like a solid 4.5. At one point, I think you got to take the Niners. I'm still waiting. We know how injured they are. I think they at some point need to get Brock Purdy back in the fold. Although Mac Jones was amazing last week. Like they didn't throw it much, but he completed like his first 20.
He is activated, so he will be the backup.
Yeah,
but I mean.
But Tommy, as you're aware, how banged up the Niners are on defense. In addition to that, they just lost Michael Williams, where it's like he was supposed to be the guy who picked up the slack for Bosa. I mean, the injuries just
they're mounting. They're mounting.
Right, and we know one of the biggest games of the season, the biggest game so far for the Niners, was that upset of the Rams on Thursday night, where they were almost a 10-point dog and somehow pulled it off. We expect the Rams to come back and maybe get them, but still, it's too many points. I think the Rams, could easily get their revenge, but give me 4.5.
Yeah, give me 4.5, and specifically because the Niners don't stop. The way they're coached, the Niners do not. They find a way to get over what they're dealing with.
And I'm not saying this as a Niner fan, but out of all the teams in the NFL, they've been the best over the last couple of years of next man up.
Oh, yeah.
They find a way
Absolutely.
to get that person
Absolutely.
that would sit the bench on any other team to step up and perform, and it's great. But
and then other teams try to buy them.
How deep is that well? Because they've been going to that well over and over and over for the last 7 weeks.
It's great coaching. They're going to lose this. The Rams are, I think, a little bit too good, but it's going to be a close game. This isn't a blowout game. It's not happening. I think it's a field goal. I think it comes down to coaching, and I think at the end of the day, the Niners don't have enough because they're so hurt.
And the one real big lean I do have is I think 49.5 is far too tall.
That's a big. I agree with that.
Where's the game? Where's the game?
It's in Santa Clara.
Oh, that's way too tall.
Yeah,
it might be windy.
All right. Let's head off to our last commercial break. We come back. We'll continue with the NFL slate, get into college, and hopefully give you guys some edges. We'll do that on ESPN 94.1 FM, 1450 AM. Kind of ironic that the last section we're going to lead is going to be the Pittsburgh game.
Let's go.
Where's the Hawk? Hawk needs to
I
be
need the
here,
Hawk.
so I can always get you and JD fired up about Pittsburgh.
I know. I like
Chargers
Pittsburgh.
at home laying 2.5 versus Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh coming off a very impressive win last week, 27-20 versus the Colts. Pittsburgh 5-3 this year. The Chargers 6-3 this year. I don't know. I'm just going to throw it over to the last standing Pittsburgh fan.
I love it. Hey, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do it the way as if the Hawk was here. So I'm gonna be the pessimist here. I'm gonna say that the Steelers come off of big wins with multiple turnovers and think that we're back. And I say you can't expect 6 turnovers every game. Can this defense actually show up and stop people? That's what I'm worried about. Now, what the Chargers don't have is any tackle to be spoken
Joe
of.
Alt's out.
And so if you're going up against T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, and the Steelers have the deepest edge group, so Herbig is proven, and Jack Sawyer is showing his name, I think the Steelers might actually get 3 to 4 sacks from that group and might cause some fumbles or might cause some interceptions as well. I think the Steelers actually should, in prime time for the first time in forever, win this game.
Yep.
And normally I'm negative on that. Normally I'm worried, and I'm not.
Brandon, I actually think it's a rough spot for the Chargers. If you look at this trajectory with the offensive line, it just goes to prove how important it really is. We all understand if Justin Herbert was out, Jane Daniels is out, how important the quarterback position is, and it's going to look different and whatnot. You can't take for granted just how important these guys are, because we know before the season started they lost their all
Slater
pro
and
Rashawn
Joe
Slater, right, and then they lost Alt, but then he was back and now he's on IR again. But just think about the disparity between those performances. Remember, without Alt, they just got shredded by the Colts, who they were sacking, they were creating turnovers, they couldn't win a shootout. Then all of a sudden they get a little bit healthier. Alt's back, and they just run right through the Vikings team, who we just saw beat the Lions like it was nothing. They get a little protection, and suddenly they can do whatever
they can throw the ball everywhere.
Alt gets hurt last week, and they're hanging on by a thread to beat the Titans. The Titans sacked Herbert 6 times and had a pick 6. So it's like it goes to show you. So they're in that spot again where it's dire straits in terms of the protection. They're going to have to get it out pretty quickly. If the Steelers coming off that big one, I do think they could create a bunch of turnovers again. I think it's a pass for me, but it's not a great spot for the Chargers at all.
No deep routes.
Tommy, who gives up the most passing yards per game in the NFL?
Relax.
Pittsburgh.
Relax,
But-
Kenny, relax.
Hold on.
But
Hold on.
But
and
you got to give them 2 seconds to throw the ball too.
and that's the thing is they're not going to have it. And yes, Herbert is
He's a great
he's
thrower
a great
of the
quarterback.
ball. Great quarterback.
However,
Good throw of the ball.
he performs great when he's protected.
He ain't gonna be that.
And I agree with you. The Steelers aren't going to have the same turnovers that they did last game. I'm not saying it was an enigma. They have that Pittsburgh defense might be back.
Hopefully.
What?
However,
the hell are you looking at? Based on you know how many yards per game they're giving up? 405.
causing turnovers.
So you're benching players now?
Give her a microphone. Give
Yeah.
her a microphone for
But,
the Steelers game.
but that being said, this is not a Charger home game in Inglewood.
It's the
The
Steelers home game
Steelers
in England.
travel probably better than any team in the league. It is going to be black and gold all day long there, and just.
So you like Pittsburgh?
I like Pittsburgh in this spot.
Interesting.
And maybe a lot of it's
Josh,
a,
I think it's a short number on the Chargers. You
I
disagree?
I think it's a pass for me. I actually like the over a little bit, though. It's only 44.5. I think
yeah.
both teams are going to have trouble stopping each other a little bit.
Aaron Rodgers is averaging, 26 points on the Steelers offense, which we haven't had in 15 years, so our numbers look crazy.
Points per game, Steelers.
Yeah, 44.5. I think that
25.3.
I think that easily gets
25.3, so 26 points a game, yeah.
Yeah, I think the over hits as well.
Hey, Kenny, when's the last time we averaged 26 points a game? Big Ben was our quarterback.
When's the last time you were 32nd in the I mean, you want to go through the – when's the last time where you were giving up 405 yards per game on defense?
Hey, Kenny, I'm on your side, and we also have the highest paid defense in the world, so I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. So
I don't want to talk
these Steeler fans find a little piece of nugget wherever it lays.
And we-
How
Hey,
about
hey,
the Chargers? We saw the
hey,
Broncos in sort of a letdown spot last night. In between that comeback win, they've got the Chiefs on deck, just barely squeaked by the Raiders, but they did, and they're still sitting there. So the Chargers, to keep pace, I mean, they're motivated to win this one. It doesn't necessarily mean that well. I just mean we've seen the personnel changes. That offensive line thing's a huge deal. Not to mention they're down to the 4th-string running back. I think it will look similar to the Colts game. For Herbert, I mean, they're probably going to throw it 50-odd times, and they just might have to win a shootout here.
Kenny, I'm coming for your Cowboys. In honor of JD, I'm not letting it go.
Sorry, Hawk. It's the Chargers. Philadelphia, Green Bay. Green Bay at home, laying 1.5 versus Philadelphia. 45.5 is the number. Philadelphia coming off a bye. They're 6-2 this year. Green Bay 5-2-1. Green Bay's coming off this loss, 16-13. Green Bay's the one team that people look at and they say, oh, they're going to be in the Super Bowl. Then the next week they lose to Carolina at home, 16-13.
And it's funny you mentioned that. I think because the impression they made was, pretty strong the first couple of weeks, where they routed the Lions in week 1 and through the first couple of weeks had the best defense in the NFL. And we know the Micah Parsons trade was huge to improve that side of the ball.
Big noise.
Sometimes you watch them, and it was a popular early narrative. Oh, yeah, the Packers are coming out of the NFC. Well, now they've regressed a little bit. I never really bought into them all that much. We know the Eagles have been up and down a little bit, but it just seemed like the Packers just kind of sleptwalk against the Panthers all game. They pulled it off. They almost lost the week before to the Cardinals, and they came alive just in time. The Cardinals actually outplayed them for the most part. It seems like they sleptwalked a little bit last week, and maybe you think they get up for this one. But with that, give me the Eagles. I think they're better. They got back on track. I feel like they've looked more like themselves the past couple of weeks. And to your point, Ken, I think the Packers are a little fraudulent. I think they're going down again.
Yeah, the way I look at it is the Packers actually, their weakness really is the inconsistency of their offense. Their offense explodes or their offense doesn't show up. And when it doesn't show up, that defense has been relatively consistent with or without Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons makes them better. But which Packers are we going to get? Are we going to get the Packers who's going to put up 30 or do a 40-point shootout? If we get that team.
The receivers are banged up. Tucker Kraft out for the year. Josh Jacobs has been dealing with the hamstring.
So there's things weighing against that offense now, but it's only when the offense shows up, when Jordan Love is the actual heir apparent, is when that team really looks good. He just hasn't done it consistently.
Yeah, when you look at the the top 5 offensive categories and the top 5 defensive categories going into yards per game, passing yards per game, rushing yards per game, points per game, and third down conversion, when you look at the Packers on offense and defense, in those 10 categories, they're in the top 10 in 8 of those 10. Yeah. Probably more than any other team in the NFL. And here Green Bay is 5-2-1. Yeah. They tied the Cowboys. They should have lost to the Cowboys. Yeah. There's just something that is a little amiss with the Packers right now.
It's because inconsistent.
But on the other side, I look at Philadelphia right now at 6-2. I think it's a fraudulent 6-2.
It's an unimpressive 6-2.
But I think they're coming up though.
And I was going to say, however, their trajectory's been going up the last few games, and everybody tries to find bulletin board material to get motivated sometimes.
And they got it.
You got to remember, the Packers were the team this offseason that was fighting to get the tush-push banned.
Right.
And at a 2.5-point spread.
And the Eagles just traded for a couple defensive guys.
And
right?
they got a new defensive edge rusher.
Strengthened that side of the ball.
So, laying 2.5, give me the Eagles this game.
Yeah. All right.
I'm worried about the Eagles.
Yep. Nevada plays Utah State tomorrow. Pack 1-7, Utah 4-4. Pax went to the freshman quarterback. The one thing that I look at this game right now, Utah State's laying a chunk right now. What are they laying on the card? I had it, but 9.5. Pack can be in this game, and there's a reason I like the Pack a little bit right here. Utah State, Josh, one of the worst defenses in the NCAA. They're giving up 444 yards per game. 185 on the ground.
Yikes.
That's what their defense is giving.
Yeah, they're bad defensively. But I will say this: it's the first year under Bronco Mendenhall, who's a long-time BYU and then Virginia coach. They're actually turning things around. Utah State's been down in the dumps for a few years. He's adding some respectability to them, but nonetheless, they've been in a lot of shootouts. That's what worries me. They do give up a lot, but they can actually score at a pretty decent clip as well.
Oh, yeah.
It makes me wonder if Nevada can hang with them in that realm. But it's been now that it has been a couple of weeks since we've done the show. We never even recapped like the Boise State performance. How disappointing in the sense that we wonder if Boise State would be caught sleeping a little bit. Nevada's defense, without a doubt, played well enough to where that should have been a game where they put Boise State in some danger. It was terribly disappointing, like the 5 turnovers. You consider a final score of 24-3. In my mind, it's closer to 17 because the muff punt, doesn't go on your defense. That's just a turnover type of score. When you look at the numbers Boise State has put up against the rest of the Mountain West Conference, so for a defense to consistently get off the field and hold that offense to 17 points, I mean, you're right there. I just feel like the Nevada teams of yore would have been in position to pull off an epic upset. It was so disappointing that it came down to so little offensive execution that they just couldn't put points on the board. I still thought it was an outstanding effort. I think it's a tough spot. I wonder what Nevada has to end the season with. I thought it was a great fight against Boise. I was disappointed that they couldn't get anything generated offensively and 5 turnovers.
Tommy, the fourth worst offense in the NCAA. The Pac has fourth worst.
Yeah.
Fourth worst.
Not the worst. Not the worst.
Surprised
So,
it's that good. No, I'm joking.
but that being said, if this was a home game, I'd probably bet Utah State. But the Pac, for whatever reason, was playing harder on the road. So I think 9.5,
Too many
especially against
points.
a bad defense,
Yes.
is good.
Not just
And
a bad defense. They're playing into what we want to do. We want to run the ball. We're averaging 137 yards a game on the ground. They're giving up 185. So we're going to be able to run the ball a little bit and run the clock. So I think the Pac sticks around. Got to prevent the big play.
And that being said, I'm going to kind of allude to a game down the road, but we all know our man JD hated Boise State, hated UNLV, hated the Dodgers.
Hated Boise State.
And last Saturday, UNLV lost, Boise State lost, and unfortunately the Dodgers won. And I was mad at him. But I think he's saving that gusto for a game that's a few weeks away, and we'll allude to it. Yep.
All right.
So that being said, man,
so
I love you.
We
and I
opened the
miss
show
you.
with a tribute to John Stevens, a longtime anchor on the show. Been with me for 15-plus years doing this show, the longest-running sports show. And he had to go up to the big game in the sky. So we're going to miss him. John, we love you. Gail, we love you. Hopefully we gave you guys some edges, and let's celebrate JD. We'll do that next Friday right here. No show at the Club County Event Room on ESPN, 94.1 FM and 1450 AM.
Love you, Steven.
Love you,
God
JD.
bless you, John.